Okay, so here we are done rating the fluency. We go to the next dimension, the flexibility. So following the same procedure, let's check what the flexibility is about. So we go to the rubric descriptor. So the rubric descriptor says here we should check for the variety of approaches. So the teaching approaches used throughout the lesson plan. And then to have more details about it, we check um, the written notes. What are we supposed to do? We have to look for variety in strategy type, the learner grouping, the representation, and assessment mode, right? So the what we are supposed to remind ourselves when we are checking this side is the variety should fit the content and then the learner level. So we are not supposed to give high flexibility for unrelated activity changes. And then we flag if strategy variety is present, but poorly aligned with the um, indicators or the performance indicators set by the teacher. That's the objectives. So this is an example of how you could write the evidence note. Maybe the lesson moves from observation to group discussion to drawing, something like that. Okay, so let's check how flexibility was demonstrated in the lesson plan. So remember what we are looking for. Mm, variety of approaches, instructional approaches, right? Okay, okay. So let's check. So because here we have to confirm whether the instructional approaches fits the performance indicator. So the performance indicator set here is that the learners can identify the inner planets of the solar system and describe their properties. And then this is for BS7, and the class size is 31. The total duration is 60. All right. So here it starts with cautioning, which is one approach, right? And then um, application of multimedia tools, right? How you can be guided by the dimensions over here so that you know what you're actually um, looking out for to grade. So here is single approach that's mainly about teacher centered, and then some variations such as question and answer plus some worksheets, but narrow range of methods. And then this one uses variety of strategy types such as experiment, role play, drawing, group discussion, appropriately for across the phases. Then the fourth one is highly flexible or shows high flexibility when the instructional approach is smoothly switched between the pedagogical representation, application of technology, and several other approaches, right? So let's check. Yeah, it's very. So we have to keep in mind it should be in sync with the content standard, especially with the class size, the class level, and then the performance indicator set by the teacher. So engage, start with questions. Then over here, application of multimedia tools. projectors, and then posters. How will they apply over here? So show the videos, right? So either use the projector or the tablet to show the videos. And then the hand learners with flashcards. So if you check the approach, this is teacher centered, right? But then it connects the learners to also participate. Then teacher also shows another video, teacher hands-on flashcards. Teacher then explain, right? So with the diagram present the name, the application of charts or posters using the diagram, and then some discussions, and then the use of flashcards. So we see here that the teacher applied a lot of um, teaching approaches over here, right? A lot of them. But then you could realize that they were mostly demonstrated by the teacher and for the learners just to observe and then memorize. And you know that the NACA curriculum actually focus on inquiry-based learning and then learner-centered activities. But then if you check over here, there are a lot of approaches. Approaches are right, but it doesn't suit the inquiry-based lesson. It's like teacher-centered activities where the learners observe. So there were some few instances where the learners actually demonstrate some special actions in the lesson plan. They were all led by the teacher. So let's see which one suits the, the dimensions, varieties of approaches. This was not a single approach, there were more than that. There are some variations, but more than questioning and answers. And then the third one is uses of variety of strategy types, such as experiment, role play, drawing, group discussion across the phases. So at least in each phase, there were different approaches for each of the phases. Then high flexibility, switch between pedagogical representation, technology approaches tailored to the learners. Because here the demonstrations were mostly led by the teacher, it doesn't qualify to be um, very creative, but then it suits this part. So we go to the calibration score sheet and then flexibility is used the third one. Then what is the note here? So over here, I can see there are a lot of varied approaches, such as questioning, the use of multimedia, flashcards, visual representation, and then some pair work. But remember, the pair work he used over here was not for the learners to discover anything, but it was just used as some kind of form of assessment. So they were comparing or filling the chart to compare some um, information, right? So this is what the teacher actually wanted the learners to demonstrate. So this is not for discovery, so it doesn't suit the inquiry base. So it was just to test some kind of knowledge. So because of that, it was mostly teacher-centered activities. Even though the learners were partially active in it, it doesn't suit the fourth dimension. So the note I'm going to leave for this one is this. Mhm. So the lesson uses varied approaches such as questioning, multimedia, flashcards, visual representation, prayer work. However, most approaches remain visual recall focused rather than highly inquiry based or problem solving orientation, right?